Hey everybody, it's Ash Brown from Impera. I'm here with Dean and Brando this week in our Cut the Fluff series. This is going to be a bit more looser than other ones. We're here with Dean and Brando from Teamified. This week's all about outsource the grind. So it's sort of keep the gold for yourself and have smarter growth for your advisory and consulting businesses. So a real big part of why we're doing this series is to help consultants and advisors globally understand that there's more than just one tool to do what they need to do, how to create efficiencies in their business, how to really grow their business, and just give them all the tools and all the products and services that really allow them to sort of create the best damn consultancy and the best damn advisory business they can. That's our passion with Impera. With Impera, we really focus on helping consultants get real-time visibility in their client strategies, which allows them to make faster, smarter, and more informed decisions. And when you're doing more informed decisions, it means everybody's winning. It means that everyone's more connected and everyone's getting far more value out of your consultancy. But this week we've got Dean and Brandon from Teamified. So I'll let them introduce themselves and talk a bit about Teamified and why this is an important topic for them.
Awesome. Thanks for having us, man. So yeah, I'm Dean, client director at Teamified. I've been with the company now for about 10 months, and under the big umbrella of Brandon Burns within the sales team. And Brandon, over to you.
Well, hey everyone, I'm Brandon. Thanks for joining us for lunch. Ash, good to see you. We are Teamified. We used to be called Patona, which means partner in Japanese, but we are now very much Teamified. And it's a pleasure to be here, man. I love what you're doing. I think we've got a great message to sort of share today, and love what you're doing for your clients as well, because improving efficiencies in business right now couldn't be more important. Hey, Ash?
Oh, it's the whole point of what we're doing. Just everyone talks about efficiency. We'll talk about this offline before. Everyone talks about efficiencies and it's so I hear the term "eat your own dog food," and people go, "Well, what does that mean?" And it's like so many times you go see a consultant or advisor or an accountant, and they say, "Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that," but they're not doing it themselves. And it's just like, well, how do we help them create efficiencies and get create value? So then their clients, which then they serve their clients and customers, and they get value. So it's sort of the start of the food chain, the head of the snake type thing. So yeah, so love that. Get a quick intro into Teamified. I know you used to be called Patona, which is the Japanese for partner or friend or part. What did you say? Japanese for what is
it? So for everyone's reference, right? If you say Patona in like a Japanese accent, Patona, and it actually sounds like partner.
Oh, there you go. Oh, that's it.
Oh,
there you go.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
Well, it is cool because 15 months ago, I kind of jumped on board as employee number one, and the role was very much, just bring partnerships to life. And I know the audience today will be able to relate so well with that concept and that strategy, right? Because for us, it's all about building long-lasting affiliate and partnership relationships. Because we have a very simple, dumb, boring, profitable business. But without our partners referring us warm introductions and clients, it wouldn't be what it is today. But look, Dean's given me the short straw here to do the intro, so I'll go ahead and do that, and then I promise I'm going to shut up and let him talk about the amazing stuff we do. But basically the story is, right, two of our founders, Simon Jones and Simon Lee, they started a fintech business, a payments business called Assembly Payments about 10, 11 years ago. And they went on a massive journey, raising up to $150 million US, and pitching for money 2-3 times and growing the business to about 90 billion in payments volume yearly, of which, that business was a payments company that took a clip. And obviously during COVID, payments businesses like Square and Afterpay and others really rode a big wave. And they sold that business to Standard Chartered Bank about 4 to 5 years ago. And it's now rebranded to Zai Payments, ZAI. And proudly, they are still a client of our new business to this day. So
Oh, awesome.
early, in the journey, they had to realize, how do we be competitively, sound, and how do we make sure that we've got an edge? And quickly they realized that, Australia is the second most expensive place in the world to employ development, engineering staff, and tech resources. That's not a bad thing, because it's a compliment for how talented we are, but it's also a real hindrance for a tech company that's competing in global markets, wanting to scale their team and what they can actually get done quick enough.
Yep.
And so by the end of exiting Xi Payments, they had a really successful, high-performing team in India, of all places, of really senior technical payments and fintech developers and engineers. And they said, you know what? We could do this for other people. And more importantly, after being heavily diluted on their journey, they said, right, how do we help other founders not get as diluted as us? And so they quickly realized, let's choose this really old laggard industry of offshoring and let's disrupt it. And so that's exactly what we've done. The last 3 years, we've helped multiple tech companies in Australia transition their resourcing to offshore to make their funding go further, but also to be competitive with being able to build product quicker. And all under the tutelage of the two founders, who have a real technical nous, a high-touch customer service feel, and a real point of difference. When a technical founder comes to us and says, hey, I want to do this, but I don't want someone to steal my code. I don't want to have a really transactional bad experience. I want it all to be secure. And I want to know, because I'm a non-technical founder, how do I get this right and not stuff it up? And that's really the problem we solve for people.
So so saying that too, like it's vastly, it was born in helping the tech industry. And obviously one of the things that you've sort of done over the last sort of 12 months is really evolve into other industries like consultancy, accounting, advisory, that type of stuff, providing, and Dean, you might be able to help out with this. So what are the roles that you're seeing in that aspect as you're evolving the business from being just a tech solution to help tech companies like ourselves, we're clients. We've got Swati, who's absolutely phenomenal. How do you evolve from being like helping sort of us to, Bill and Jill's consultancy company? What are the sort of the roles that you're sort of seeing there, Dean?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point, especially with the region and the jurisdiction that we have in other regions like the Philippines, for instance, right? Really service-based industry. So deep diving into different sectors like consultancy or even that small to medium business sort of model. Like, okay, what's the biggest pain point? And they're probably spending too much time on the business or in the business as opposed to on the business, right? So you look at admin support, that clerical side that consumes so much time on their day-to-day, or if you're looking at that marketing side of things, or even sales assistant type roles. These are sort of the roles that help them free up their time, create some efficiencies, but also get them spending more time working on what matters, which is the business, as opposed to how many hours of a week are you going to spend on email or drawing up quotes or doing some cold outreach. Those functions chew up so much creativity out of these founders and these consultants, right? So we've identified, well, there's such a wealth of experience out there within that industry. Let's tap into that. And we've uncovered a great sort of network of talent within India, Sri Lanka, and the Philippines that can really help these customers.
That's all. Yeah, it's one of those things that that when I speak to consultants here and in the US, especially, they're always like, oh, I'm under the pump, or there's always this lumpy revenue model. So it's like, yeah, they've got a heap of engagements and it sort of dies down, but then they've got to do this BD work to help them get back up. So it's sort of, out of the 12 months of the year, and Brando, you've got mates that do the EOS practitioners, and you could probably even speak to that the ones that you've spoken to, they've got this. It's not predictable or recurring revenue. It's just consistent. Like one of the things that we solve is we're able to give people, consultants, predictable and recurring revenue by allowing them to get vision over what their clients are doing, but also be able to resell our product to be able to raise the floor of what their revenue is, which I think is super important. Like, there's nothing worse than sitting there going, oh my God, for 3 months, we've made a ton of revenue from the first quarter, but quarter two, we've dropped off. So you're saying that you've got like resources that can help with marketing and sales and lead generation as well?
Yeah. So if you look at a consultant, for instance, right, generally they're a one-person show, like generally a small a really small
Yep.
practice. And for the most part, a lot of their time is consumed by engagement, client engagement, and then all the work to facilitate their clients' engagements. So where's the gap? There's that BD work, there's that admin support, and then how do they market themselves and grow their own brand whilst being like working with their clients? So we've really identified, okay, sales and marketing and
Yep.
admin support. So you were to break it down like lead gen. Let's get really micro with that functionality. Is there an email outreach? Is it appointment setting? Is it just booking meetings within their calendar and then forwarding up that data from those meetings into a CRM? These things might be incrementally consuming their time, but over the course of a month, they might be able to book another 15 client meetings, right? So all of a sudden, they're just untapping more work. So definitely, and then that marketing side, how do they spruik themselves on LinkedIn, or go and put themselves up on networking groups and all the assets and materials that's needed for that? This is where we can unlock that and their time as well.
Yeah, Brado, you've worked with a lot of consultants and EOS practitioners previously. I think your previous world, you actually used EOS.
I am an absolute EOS. Preach. You're preaching to the choir. I love EOS, right? But most importantly, I would say our number one partner referral source, which we weren't anticipating, has actually been EOS coaches. And what I've come to learn about them is they all have these amazing, established, anonymous, unknown, really good clients that have businesses in niches and verticals that may not be as exciting as tech companies, but they're incredible family owned and pumping businesses. And the good thing about that is they're all looking for 1% wins and efficiencies. They're not getting carried away with the shiny new thing that's going to rock their world and triple their business. They're actually looking for how can we incrementally optimize? And so they've been a great one-to-many referral partner for us, because they have exactly the type of client we're after. And those clients have established businesses that often just have a problem within them that, like Dean said, if they can unlock and fix through a form of scalable resourcing, it can pay dividends for their business, both short and long term. And do you want me to just paint an example of one story?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dude, that's what we're here.
So Dean recently signed up a couple of real estate agents as clients, and it was, if Dean hadn't have gone about exploring this vertical, we really wouldn't have understood the opportunity that we've now unlocked. So traditionally, accountants and financial style clients are very open and familiar and mature when it comes to offshoring. It's almost like if you talk to an accounting practice today, they've tried offshoring and they've been doing it for ages and they either love it or they hate it, right? But one vertical we dismissed was real estate agents. And through Dean's work, we were able to unlock that most real estate agents own rent rolls, as we all know, because that's the valuable part of their business. It's not the sales arm, it's a rent roll. Yep. But they've got people working as property managers, senior property managers, who, if they're really good, can manage upwards of about 120 to 180 properties a year. But real estate agency owners are now realizing that, oh my God, if I was to outsource and give admin support to my senior property managers, they could start to manage upwards of like 250 plus properties a year. And I could still give my clients an A+ grade service, high touch in person in Australia, but I can alleviate all of the admin. And so we've now just been going on a hiring spree for real estate agents in particular, with hiring admin and sales support for their property management arm. And it's been a goldmine because we didn't realize that's the part of their business that they treasure and they value so highly, because that's their saleable asset. And it's come from a really traditional, unexpected industry, and one that hasn't been peppered, for the last 5 years with, are you doing offshoring? You know what I mean? Like real estate's still quite new to it.
Hasn't been exhausted.
No, but because they had a real win during COVID and they've all sort of grown their businesses and done well, they're quite open to considering, okay, how can I optimize the simple, dumb, boring part of their business, which is their rent roll. So it's a great story.
And you find also too, like real estate agents, if you're cold calling them, they'll answer the phone because they live on their phones. So that's you mentioned something there, like so what? There was a stat that I think that I probably heard from you guys that it's like you could save like 70% of your resource, like on an actual resource. But you're probably unlocking more than that. Would that be right? So if I'm a consultant, I'm sitting there and I've got my little shop and I've outsourced my sales function and my other whatever admin functions. Because let's be honest, most sole traders or small businesses, the number one thing they're absolutely crap at is paperwork, because you just it's not a priority. Your priority is the fridge, which is your bank account. You're just constantly making sure your fridge is full of food. That's probably the best way of putting it. So you're not worried about the shopping list. You just keep filling the fridge as much as you can. So how have you seen efficiencies like has it saved 70%, 80%? Has it increased their so what I'm sort of saying in a roundabout way, obviously, which is taking a while because of the Sudafed I'm popping. Oh my God. Are you finding that you're getting more saving? They're getting more savings, not just like what their cost would be, like a normal resource would cost X, but they're also unlocking all these other efficiencies and benefits.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So when we sit down with these clients, we don't just get the role and tell them exactly what it's worth, right? And you're right, we can save them up to 70% on what that role would cost onshore. But it's more so unlocking efficiencies, right? So we sit down and we look at the roles in comparison, and then we'll say, okay, you're spending this much onshore. This is what this role is going to cost you if you move that offshore. And then by doing so, you've also unlocked, just say your sales rep, you've now given them an extra 10 hours a week. And what does that look like in terms of ROI? Well, maybe they can land another deal. Depending on the deal volume, that deal might be worth 10 grand. And if you replicate that month by month, then you start stacking that profitability based on that, just that one resource, removing 10 hours of work, a week or whatever the case may be, right? So it does compound. So you're definitely right. So not only are you saving on that resource, you're then opening up your domestic resources to actually provide growth within the business, as opposed to just the daily churn, so to speak.
Yeah, one of the things that we see all the time with Impera, with some of the goals and objectives people set, is like how to keep their operating costs down. And so you see that a lot, and then they'll break it down and go, okay, well, our goal is to keep our operating costs to this, and then that will generate an X EBITDA and that type of stuff, right? Which is, EBITDA is king. People can talk about, my old boss used to say, turnover for vanity, profit for sanity, right? Which I think he pretty much stole that from one of the Dragon Den guys, but anyway, that's a whole other story. But it's true. So is it one of those things that if you can not reduce your headcount, because I'm not saying go sack people, because that's ridiculous, but when you're looking at making, like, so if I'm a consultant, I'm sitting there going, okay, well, you need to bring on extra, because a lot of what happens with a lot of consultants, not consultants, but clients with consultants, like someone will go to them, and Brando, you would have known this with your EOS, you go, I want to double our revenue. Okay, well, what resources have you got to actually do it? You can't just double your revenue. You can't, it's not about doubling your prices. It's like, what are the things that you need to do to double your revenue? So having offshoring resources, I think is all that have that available to you is probably ideal for you. And to apply it back to the strategy, that's what people do. I say it all the time as well. How to reduce cost, but how to include headcount. It's like, well, sometimes that's a bit counterintuitive. Is this a good way to balance that out, I suppose?
Yeah, I would just add to that and say that we're very upfront with our clients in saying that we don't think all your eggs should be in one basket. We're never here to say to a client, you really need to have everything offshore and nothing onshore. If anything, with our technical clients, as an example, we say to them, where did your senior technical leadership sit? Are you lucky and does one of your founders possess that capability? And if not, don't worry. We actually recommend and we help clients, understand that they can have fractional advisory. They can find ways to have a balance, and that's really important. When it comes to the efficiencies around more traditional businesses, and like what you said with EOS coaches and the type, one thing we try to maintain, Dean and I in particular, is a real respect for the time of the EOS coach and implementer, and also the fact that they are not looking to be sold to. And I'm sure you can attest to this, Ash, right?
Yeah.
I often marvel at how well Impera has made such inroads with EOS coaches and the product, because there's an argument to say that, you know, they're just being hit up by another software solution. But there's obviously something that you've done, Ash, that's really cut through all the bullshit, cut through the fluff, and it's made these EOS coaches go, you know what? This software you have really does do so much more than everything else we've seen, but it also aligns with what we're trying to do for our clients. And so I'd love to hear you explain that, Ash, because I'll just build upon that by saying that Dean and I have really committed to complementing EOS coaches and being respectful of the clients and the book that they hold and never selling to them.
Yeah, no, you're right. They don't want to be sold to. They're a very a unique bunch. And I don't mean that in a like sometimes you say unique and it's like code for, you know, whatever, right?
Yeah.
It's actually not. They're unique. They think of businesses in a vastly different way, and a very formula in a way it runs in a certain formula. The one reason why we, especially in the US, were able to cut through quite a lot is unfortunately with EOS, it's a great system. It really is, but sometimes it can be really, really cumbersome for a small business.
Okay.
And so what could happen is that it could really be like, oh my god, I've got to do all this. I've got to do, I've got to do my level 10s. I've got to do my segues. I've got to do this. So there's a lot of complexity sometimes, and the software that was out there, and I don't mind, I'll say what it is, 90 or EOS 1, and it reflects that. It reflects that complexity. Or they're using spreadsheets because guess what? The software is too complex. So then they come to us and go, well, actually, have you got rocks? Yes. Have you got goals? Yes. Have you got reports that can generate this? Yes. Is it easy to read? Yes. It's like, okay, well, that's like we've taken spreadsheets that we've seen franchisees just not use, and the COOs have gone, well, we can't implement this. And they're like, and so we turned it around and go, well, is this far more digestible? And like, oh yeah, this is easy. And that's the key. You've just got to, I think sometimes with software is in general, and we try to make things too damn complex because we can. And there's something about, I remember years ago there was the 3-ingredient cookbook or 4-ingredient cookbook. These two ladies in Sydney made it, and they made millions from it. It was just like 4 ingredients. It's like you know, milk, butter, egg, and pasta. Suddenly you got carbonara, right? Something like that. And they made millions of it because the average person doesn't want to spend 2 hours in the kitchen making their own beef stock, making their own this, that, or the other. They want to just get in there, cook, and get the hell out of it. And business owners are the same way. They don't want to spend all day working on the plan. They want to work in the plan and start having it actioned. And that's where we've really hit our stride is understand the software is just a delivery vehicle. It's just something that they can get in and drive to the next destination. That's why we white label the platform as well. We don't consider ourselves to be that important, if that makes sense. Like, we're important, but we're not overstating our importance.
Yeah.
You know, all we're doing is trying to enable. That's why we call ourselves a strategic enablement platform.
And you find,
find
a bit of a peek behind the curtain. I know a little bit about Impera, right? But you find that a lot of the engagement that an advisor or consultant would utilize Impera is probably the exact same time that they'd engage their client to talk about their resources, right? Because they're sitting down and talking their strategy. And then they're looking at every vertical within the business where they find efficiencies. And a lot of the time, it's that consulting piece that if we've done our job, Brando and me have done our job right, and we've helped our client, they're a product of the product, they're using one of our services, and they're consulting their client whilst they're using Impera and they're formulating their robust strategy and path to success. And they're like, okay, this is how else you can find some efficiencies, right? And I think that's the beauty of that partnership as well.
Yeah, I think it's vital. I think this is why we created this webinar series. Is everything's about just let's create efficiencies from the head of the snake, which is generally the consultant. So the people that businesses go to say, hey, how do we make our business? This is what happens every time with a consultant or advisor. I want to make more money. I want to get more sales, and I want to sleep better at night. And I want to sit on a beach and just watch the business grow. Right. So that's pretty much every conversation. It's more about, okay, well, how do we help enable that from our point of view? So from our point of view is like, you can measure it, you can create the plan, execute the plan. But then, like for something like Teamified, and this is what was really good that you spoke about the pivot, that not the pivot, but the opening up of different verticals. By the way, great industry tech term in verticals and all. But understanding a different vertical is seeing like real estate agents and consultancy firms that could and should use resources like Teamified and that sort of stuff. So probably the big one I want to touch on is what's sort of there is a stigma around it. So let's not skip around that. There's always going to be a stigma around the fact that you're offshoring, the talent's not as good, or this, that. I don't have visibility. How do I know they're actually working? How do you sort of combat that, or what's the sort of practices that Teamified puts in place to ensure that me as a consultant that's referring it to my clients, I don't look like the dill because I'm the one passing. I'm saying, hey, use Teamified, and then they turn around and they get a resource and it's just very average.
Yeah.
So what's the sort of safeguards around that? Because that is a big concern for people.
Yeah. So it's multi-layered, right? And it does start with Brando and myself. So we actually sit and we do our own consulting, right? We sit with the client and we unpack the need. The need is the most important thing. So once we've identified what they need, where the resource is going to give them the most value, we then obviously go through the costing analysis, make sure everyone is aligned to budget, and then explain our process. Like we can go into it a little bit more after this question, but we're an employer of record, which means that we supply and we help facilitate full-time employment for the Aussie companies that we're working with, right? So once we've ascertained that, we then go through and we have dedicated account managers, recruiters, and support staff in each one of our regions that actually help facilitate that hiring process. So then we do the full introduction, give all the information through to our account managers and hiring teams, and our dedicated staff actually go and recruit for these roles specifically. It's not like we keep a bench, or if there's anyone out there that just in the ethos that we just pluck and say this is a good fit. Ultimately, we do our due diligence and we get endorsed candidates for our Aussie companies. We go through the endorsement process, the interview process. If there's any testing, if there's any skills analysis, anything that the client requires as a pre-interview requirement, we facilitate and then let them go through their interview process. So we've added ultimately additional layers within the process to safeguard the quality that we produce, but also give the client as much clarity around the individuals that they're interviewing. And then at that point, once they're confident and happy with their hire, then we go forth and put them on. But it doesn't stop there for us, because we've got 20% of our workforce that are actually in country, right? India or Sri Lanka or the Philippines. Their operational staff, their HR staff, their support staff. So the onboarding and the facilitation and the continual support of that hire, we look after as well in conjunction with the Aussie company. So they're not just left to their own devices. You're out in the wilderness and then, see you later, and then Teamified's done. We're a valued partner with these clients throughout the journey. And if that means we're going to help them facilitate whatever they need, we do so. And I think by adding those layers to our service offering, we give them an intangible that sort of supersedes maybe a prior bad experience that they've had with a resource that was casual, or that was just, they paid by BPay and they were given by, from whatever organization they're working with. We're different. It's a tailored, bespoke approach, right? And ultimately, that's probably why our clients love working with us so much.
You also got tech as well. You got your own tech.
Yeah, Brandon, you want to talk a bit about that?
Oh yeah, sure. So, like all good professional services businesses, actually, as you know, building tech, goes hand in hand, and it can always add value. We've had a platform underway for about 2 years, and as it stands, it does basic things like pay your invoice, view your timesheet of your employee, approve It's got a shop front for buying equipment and rewarding your staff.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's also got the ability to do monthly and yearly performance appraisals and reviews. But where we're building it to is we want to address a North Star metric in our industry of making hiring someone abroad 50% quicker. So currently the industry standard is 44 days. We want to bring that down to 22. And a lot of that comes down to how we enable our talent management team in India and Sri Lanka and the Philippines to make the hiring process quicker by going back and forth to the client and the candidate, to doing the ref check, the technical assessment. It also has this amazing feature where it stays on the line for 5 minutes after each interview and separately interviews the client and the employee and asks them any residual questions and how they thought they went. And then it all goes towards a digest that's given to our client. So it really is to just address keeping our client engaged and hiring quicker. And then obviously, if we can do that, then that really puts us in a strong position, because not only do we find people for people's businesses, but we also do it quicker. So we could go and then do that in so many different scenarios. And we're not the first person to do outsourcing. To answer your question around what makes us different, and yes, over the years, people have had good and bad experiences. So, and we're all working from a similar talent pool. So our job really is, how can we do it quicker and get better quality people served to our clients quicker? Because we don't want people to lose interest. We don't want people to think it's not working. We don't want people to feel like it's difficult. And also we can't get there and do that without tech. So that's why we've really prioritized. We've got a great team of 6 developers that build our platform, 4 of which are female developers in India, which we're super proud of. Yeah, and you can attest to this. Your employee Swati, she's an amazing female developer.
Oh, she's a gun.
So this, there's elements of what we do that are different and better. There's elements of what we do which are very same to everyone else, but at the core of it, we just try to do a better job when it comes to customer service and being transparent with our client.
The intangibles.
We love it when people hire someone with us and that person becomes their rockstar employee, and that person announces on LinkedIn that they're working for our client, not us. But we also love it when our client learns a little bit about how to manage someone offshore, because once they've learned how to onboard someone, it's amazing how many clients get the confidence up to go, I want to make my next hire. I can see the saving and I feel empowered. I know how to do this. And then that really unlocks and opens their business, because they feel confident about getting over that initial hump of, is the person abroad going to be good or not? Are they going to be able to communicate? Can they talk to my clients? Are they going to have a good work ethic? Am I going to be able to gel with them because they're a 4-hour difference in time zone? And once people get past the ways of working element and they can make it work, that's when our clients really see the economies of scale with putting on more and more people to grow their business. And it's amazing to watch. It's amazing to watch these clients really embrace the offshoring element, and they start talking to all their friends and their clients and their fellow business owners, and it spreads like wildfire.
That's the product-led growth, but yours is more people-led growth, I suppose you want to call it. So,
People-led growth.
Dean, is probably before we wrap up, what's sort of top 3 tips that you give consultants to consider before for roles in their consultancy firms?
Yeah, so I would say probably admin ultimately is the overarching support role, right? So when you're looking at all your clerical stuff, admin, emails, follow-ups, meetings booked, but then don't discount the sales and marketing side as well. So some of our marketing roles can create content, they can edit videos, but also that sales follow-up, that lead gen, that CRM facilitation, and also booking your meetings, right? As an advisor, I would say that's imperative. But ultimately, there's so much more, right? So, but we've got we had a podcast producer, we had an editor. There's that many things that if they want to branch out on their brand, then they don't have to go domestically and spend a bomb on that marketing side. They can do that. They can do that offshore at a really cost-effective price with such a creative wealth that the Philippines have with marketing as well. So definitely admin, sales support, marketing would be the holy trinity, I would say.
Yeah. And Brando, what would be the top 3 reasons to offshore?
Well, every industry has done it and broken through, so you need to at least try it. Okay, I'm not saying it's for everyone, but you should at least explore it. And one of the easiest ways, like the number one, is you just do a comparison. Get together with Dean and I and do a comparison, a confidential comparison of your current resourcing setup and what it could look like, what you could outsource and what you couldn't. And if someone you go to do this tells you that you can outsource anything, they're lying. Okay, so make sure that you find someone that's willing to be honest with you and say, hey, you can't outsource everything, and that's okay. But secondly, I would say look at your competitors, and if you can see that they have an increased velocity in the things that they do compared to you, and they're a similar sized business, that's a giveaway, straight away tell that they're using offshoring. So we use a podcast and content editor to increase our velocity of content. We use an EA and a VA to increase our efficiency with being able to attend sales appointments. So she gets us to inbox 0. She does all our proposals. She sends all of our DocuSigns. And the third reason would be, are you over everyone saying that AI is going to improve efficiency in your business? And if you are, don't forget that offshoring's been around a little longer than AI. And we have people in our team offshore that know how to use AI on our behalf, and they can do basic manual things that make things perform more efficiently, and they naturally use a bit of AI. But if you're hanging your hat on AI to drive all of the efficiency in your business, or if you're sick of hearing about everyone, then I would say don't go there first. Consider an offshore resource, because make yourself more time efficient as the business owner or the person that can shape the business, and do that with offshoring. Like, we are a product of our product. We are not allowed to not have an outsourced virtual assistant, because we need to be able to tell our clients about how much we love and just can't live without that resource. And it's amazing how once we started with a VA, Ash, how Dean and I have been able to work creatively with that resource outside of her business as usual daily tasks. We've been able to be creative and come up with new things that she can do for business development, outreach, and growth of our client base. And it's been fascinating to see how much we've been able to have a competitive edge with lead generation on LinkedIn, just using our VA. We haven't even used AI tools, but just using our VA. So I couldn't speak highly enough of it. But look at your competitors. You're going to have at least one that's using outsourcing or offshoring, and that should be enough to intrigue you to go, you know what, I've got to at least find out where I'm missing out.
No, that's and on the AI versus offshoring, I use the term all the time. AI is no different from going from if you're a builder, it's going from a hand saw to a power saw, and then go from a power saw to a laser pointed power saw that can actually measure and cut properly. That's all it. It's all it is. It's only AI is only as good as the person using it. Because you can punch out some absolute crap out of AI, and sometimes I think people just put AI into products just to appease investors, where meaningful AI makes a huge difference, but it's still got to have the human element to it to make it work properly. So, so that pretty much wraps us up, guys. Where would the best place to find you both? I know Brandon's, you want to quickly plug your basketball networking event that you've grown into this almost like team of thousands that go to it, and where's the best place to find everyone find out about Teamified?
Well, I don't know about me, but Dean is prolific on LinkedIn. He's what you'd call a LinkedIn influencer. So you can't miss him. Go on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, right.
We have a closed group of about 410 members, Ash, of which you're an OG member. And about 14 months ago, we cranked up fitness and networking as an activity for our partners, but also for the broader community. And that's on LinkedIn as well. But the best way to find us is the Teamified LinkedIn page, and then go from there. I mean, you see heaps of content around how more traditional industries are starting to break down the barriers of offshoring. And we also talk about the things to avoid and mistakes not to make. We're big on that. So we kind of lead with why people would object first, and we get that out of the way, right? So people can go, right, well, they understand my objection. They're not just going to tell me everything everyone else says. And then we can get to the proper conversation, which is, righto, let's hear about your business. We've got to learn it first, and then let's help you find those blind spots.
Perfect. Indeed, you're apparently all over LinkedIn.
Oh,
yeah. It's I'm massive. I'm huge on LinkedIn. But it's probably the best place.
I'm surprised it's not a t-shirt these days. I'm big on LinkedIn.
Oh, for sure. Here's 5 ways you can contact me on LinkedIn.
Here's a thread. Jesus.
But yeah, just hit me up on LinkedIn. All my contact details are there. If you just want to have a chat, even if you're in Melbourne, come past the office, go for a coffee. You can meet the founders and Brandon and myself. And yeah, we'll unpack whatever you have going on and what we can do. But yeah, definitely. Yeah, we really appreciate it, man. Like, this is great for us, and we love doing stuff with you as always.
Yeah, for me,
we've got so many clients in the group that use Impera. We use it internally, so we're a massive advocate.
Yeah, for me, it's about to solve the problem, and the problem is that we've created so many plans over, like plans to execution. I'd hate to see what the ratio is, and so for us to help consultants create more meaningful work with their clients, that's the key. I think if we can make a healthier, stronger consulting and advisory community that gives better advice and better actions to the small to medium businesses, suddenly we go from 10% making it in year 5 to 20, 30. And if we can if we can play a small part in that, then that's the ideal situation for us. So, but once again, guys, thanks very much. You can find Impera at empiraa.com. I'm not as big as Dean on LinkedIn.
Big deal.
But yeah, you'll definitely but if you need to find out more about Impera or Teamified, feel free to jump on LinkedIn and find out. And we'd like to thank everyone that's attended. And this will be available on Instagram, Spotify, LinkedIn, not Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok.